YouTube! Welcome to day 14 of my birthday countdown vlog. 26 more days until I turn 40. So when I was 26, that's 1998. First big thing that happened that year. So I was working for one company at that point as a contractor. As I talked in yesterday's vlog, I finally got hired full-time. But at this point I was still working as a contractor, and sometime in about February, March time frame, our company went up for sale. We were a subsidiary of a company in Asia, and the Asian economic crisis hit right around that time. And while we were just about to go IPO, our parent company decided to sell us instead. So all of a sudden we went on the shopping. They were shopping us around looking for someone to buy us, and there was one company that was going to buy us, but then the regulations or whatnot, there was going to be too much monopoly in the industry if we were bought by that company. So immediately, like the next day after that deal fell through, another company bought us, and that ultimately ended up being the company I was with throughout the rest of my career until I got laid off in 2008. And I was pretty scared when all of that happened, because contractors were always the first to be let go, and from everything I heard, all contractors were being let go. 100% of all contractors were being let go. And so I immediately started working on my resume. I started applying for jobs. I even had some interviews with headhunters at the time down in Denver, and just all sorts of things. And thankfully, one of the directors who knew my work convinced the powers that be that they needed me. The company that was buying us only had one person on their web team at the time, and I was pretty much the only person on our web team. And so between us, and there was going to be, our company size and their company size were pretty equal in size. And so they said, you know what, we really could use more than one person working on the websites, so let's keep her. And I was so grateful to that director for doing that for me. And that allowed me to stay there and continue working and eventually get that permanent job offer. And so that really helped further my career and keep me going and keep me stable, and I didn't have to drive down to Denver every day, which was one of the things I was afraid of, as most of the job opportunities in that field at the time were in Denver, not where I lived. And so that was a good thing. Scary time, but I got through it. Another thing that happened that year was buying a house. My boyfriend at the time, the one that I talked about yesterday breaking up with, we were renting a duplex here in Colorado, and ultimately we wanted to actually own property. At least he wanted to own property. I did too, but I didn't have the means at the time. I was just getting out of my first round of credit card debt and just starting to get into investing and saving money and building up my my portfolio and things. So I really didn't have much money to put towards a down payment on a house or anything. But he did, and he was like, okay, I'm ready to buy a house, let's just go do this. And we spent one weekend, I mean, we talked about it for several weeks, and then we went one weekend with some friends of ours and just kind of hopped around to all the open houses on a Sunday, and went through and looked at several houses, and the last house we looked at, we made an offer on, and like 2 months later we moved into it. It was a pretty nice house. Was, I don't know, probably 1,600 square foot house, had 3 bedrooms, 2 upstairs, 1 downstairs. It was sort of a tri-level kind of a house. Not dissimilar to the house I'm living in now, actually, although the layout was different. And we were, since we're in Colorado, we were actually closer to, in the town that we live in, closer to the mountains in this house. So we had a nice view of the mountains, and there was lots of open space behind us that wasn't going to be developed anytime soon, so we knew that we weren't going to have other houses coming in behind us. So it was a nice place, and it was nice to get out of a rental situation. And I did help pay the mortgage, even though I didn't have down payment money. He and I split the cost of the mortgage in a percentage based on our incomes. So basically, the way we configured our finances at the time was looking at pooling all of our money 100%, like how much was he making, how much was I making, and then what percentage of my income was from that 100%. So I think at the time, my percentage was about 40% and his was 60%, so he was making more than I was. And so I paid 40% of the monthly mortgage payments, which ended up being, you know, a pretty fair thing. And the same thing went for household expenses, utilities, and everything else. And at the time, because I was just coming out of debt and I was just kind of getting back on my feet again, it felt better for me. These days, I actually, even though I don't make quite as much as as Dave, he and I kind of have a 50-50 agreement, which I'm actually much more comfortable with in the long run. I'd rather be more equal with contributions. But at that time, and just coming out of the financial situation that I was, as bad as it had been at the time, it was just a better situation to split it up that way. But yeah, those were the two big things of 1998. Was almost getting fired, or not fired, but laid off because of being a contractor because of a big acquisition merger thing, and then the whole adventure of buying a house, which was actually kind of cool. And then, you know, as I said yesterday, he and I broke up, and so all I did was sign a quitclaim form for $1. He had to give me some cash in view of the notary with the quitclaim form, and so he had, you know, the minimum was $1. So he gave me $1 to buy out my share of the house. And the only reason we even had a joint mortgage to begin with was to save him money on the interest rate of the house, because he was not a U.S. citizen. He was still a green card. Actually, no, he didn't even have a green card. He was here on a work visa. He was on an H-1B visa at the time. He was from the Netherlands. And so he needed my signature on there to get the current rates, which I think was like 5.75% at the time. And without my signature, he would have had to pay 12%. And so, actually, that was probably for him the most painful part of the breakup, was signing the quitclaim form and having to refinance the house under his name and having to pay the higher interest rate. And I felt bad for him. I told him I would be more than happy to stay on the mortgage with him until he paid off the house or sold the house, so he didn't have to do that. But he wanted a clean break from everything, and so he kind of swallowed the financial burden of that. And that was the one thing I felt the worst about of the breakup. But be that as it may, that was what we decided to do, and in the end it worked out. He sold the house and got a new house, and like I said, he's now married with kids, so in the end everything worked out. Anyway, that's all I have for today, so until tomorrow, bye.